I briefly want to do an FYI. If for some reason you didn't see it in the title or the description or the comment section, somehow you managed to bypass all that and didn't see the warnings, I want to say at the beginning of this video just to make sure you don't get spoiled. This video will contain major spoilers for Boku no Hero Academia. For instance, if you're not up to date with the main manga, and also not up to date with the latest chapter of the spin-off, Vigilante, if you're not up to date, do not watch this video, because it will contain spoilers around Stain and what happened to his face. So, if you don't know, like if you're not up to date with the manga or anything, do not watch this video, because I don't want to spoil you, and I know there's many anime-onlys out there that watch my videos of Boku no Hero Academia, and just to be considerate of those fans, I don't want to spoil you about certain information that happened in the latest chapter. So with that being said, let us begin. So we got the origin story of Stain in the last chapter. Well, not necessarily the last chapter. The last chapter was actually focusing around All Might and how he met the police officer and all that, which, very interesting stuff. I did not think, you know, the spin-off of Boku no Hero would have that type of information. Getting to see All Might and how he made this connection with the police officer that knows his identity, that was surprising information. Some really good world building and characterization and kind of how the relationship formed in the first place. That was very unexpected and a very solid chapter overall. So I guess that was another great moment that happened in the last chapter that came out. But anyways though, focusing on the latest chapter, Stain, he's been in a fight. He's getting in a fight. We've seen that there was this character introduced that's obvious that he is Stain. He has a similar quirk name. The ability is the exact same as Stain's quirk that we saw in the anime and also the original manga series, and so it's pretty easy to tell that this man was definitely Stain before he became what he is in, you know, present timeline. For instance, when he got his conviction, his resolve to take down the unjust society, to attack heroes that were fake heroes, to bring down villains that also didn't have conviction or resolve. He just didn't like how the world was running, and he was kind of, I guess, very naive in some ways when it came to his resolve, his ideology, but he was a very fascinating character. And as I said in my last video I did for, you know, Vigilante, I talked about how it was just cool to see Stain like this and see his origin story. It goes to show that this spin-off is very vital and important to the main manga, and once again, this probably puts emphasis on how much Horikoshi is trusting the writer of this spin-off, because when you're writing, you know, a series, you don't have all the time in the world. You don't have all the time in the world to go into every single little plot point and character all the time. There's just limitations. I mean, it's like what I said in the filler episode review I did for the anime. When the anime episode came out, and it was basically in, like, actual in-anime universe filler, but it was canon. Basically, that stuff might have been what Horikoshi wanted to add in the first place, he just didn't have the time to add it into his manga, or because Boku no Hero still was a very brand new series, he didn't want to take a risk on focusing on other characters when he should be focusing on the main points of the series and focusing on Izuku and kind of developing him and setting up the endgame for the series. So when you think about it like that, it's obvious why he sometimes cannot do certain things. He has to make sure he focuses on the stuff that's very vital at that current time. And so that's where this comes in, where the spin-off comes in, and also the anime comes in. The anime is able to have freedom. It's able to throw in filler and stuff that the manga is never able to do. It's able to use certain little segments throughout the story and expand upon it, and you're able to kind of understand why these characters did so-and-so in the future, or you're able to appreciate them so much more, which is why I love that Suyu episode so much in the anime. And so this is a very similar example. Instead of it being an anime, this spin-off manga, which takes place before the main series of Boku no Hero Academia, this spin-off is diving into characters and relationships of characters that were set up for future in-game stuff for the series. Or in this case, we get to see what drove Stain to be like he was in the main manga. Knuckleduster, in a way you could say he was the one that put Stain down his path. What made Stain want to change society? If it wasn't for Knuckleduster stepping in, Stain might not be what he was in the anime or in the manga, which is very surprising. I mean, it goes to show how vital this spin-off is for Stain as a character. So, I just want to reinstate the fact that if you thought that the spin-off of Boku no Hero Academia was pointless, or not really important at all, or vital to the main series, then you are completely fucking wrong. Because after this chapter, we now have more information on Stain. And many would probably be quick to say, shouldn't this be in the main manga? But once again, I want to go back to the point I said. When you're a writer, if you're writing like a manga and you're on like a weekly schedule and all that, you don't have all the time in the world to focus on every individual thing. That's just, it's common sense. And so that's where this comes in. It's able to expand upon things that Horikoshi just does not have the time to do. He has what he wants to do, he just doesn't have the time to really fit it in at all. And so that's what makes this so special. What makes this spin-off so special is that we're now getting information that many of us have all wanted to know for a very long time. Why did Stain have a fucked up face? That's what we've all been asking. And so, it was thanks to Knuckleduster. Knuckleduster hit Stain so hard that he punched the resolve into him, and also fucked up his nose so bad to where Stain just off, or cuts it off with a knife. So, it's fucked up. It's very fucked up. So Stain is technically the one that ruined his own face. But it was a message. It was a message of resolve, conviction, and him wanting to merge both sides of his life together. As we know, what we found out in the spinoff is he had two sides. He had his side to when he was being like Stain, and he had a side to where he was just a regular dude fitting into society. He had two things, and so it's kind of like he had two lives. Like a typical hero or villain in a story. For instance, a typical hero or villain, they have like a secret identity. Let's think of what I recently have been watching on Netflix, The Defenders or Daredevil. You have it to where he has his own set and his own identity, and he tries to hide it from everyone else. And he has like two different lives, basically, or two different people he is. And in this case, that's what Stain was doing. He had two different sides to him. And in some ways, you could think he might have like a dual personality or something because he's able to shift like he does and change his viewpoint. But thanks to what Knuckleduster did, and when he punched him, ruined his nose, and then he finally cut off his nose, it made it to where he merged both sides of his worlds together. Both worlds collided, and now he is one, which became Stain. He became someone that was now had the resolve to continue to fight for what he wanted to fight for and not half-ass it, because when he decided to swap over to his other personality, he didn't have 100% resolve. It's like he was 50-50. He was a glass half full or a glass half empty. That's basically how he was tackling it. And so with what happened, he was now able to put 100% of his time into what he really wanted to accomplish. There was no turning back. That was why he ruined his face like he did, and why he wore no mask was because he had nothing to hide anymore. When he, took off the mask, basically he is stating, there's no going back. What I'm doing now, I have to continue forward. This is my path. There's no going back. This is my conviction. I must press onward. So, that's cool. I like what Stain did and how he changed like that. Now, let's get into the fight, though. Knuckleduster. So, we all know that Stain, he's not a weakling. By no means is Stain weak. His quirk is not the greatest. Like, it's not Endeavor or All Might level, One for All or All for One level, but it's a strong quirk depending on how you use it. It depends on the circumstances if it can really get you out of a jam. But most of the time, if you're getting into a fight, especially what we see with Knuckleduster and all that, you can't really count on your quirk to stun or paralyze someone unless you inflict wounds on someone. So Stain doesn't really have that opportunity to always use his quirk. And so because of that, you might as well consider him quirkless most of the time when he fights, because if he's fighting someone that has a lot of durability or you can't really cut them and get to their blood, his quirk is completely negated. It's pointless at that point. So he needs to have the abilities or strength to be able to have a quick speed encounters and also overpower people with just raw power. And so in this case, we know that Stain has trained his body and he doesn't always rely on his quirk. That was a very big example when, Izuku was fighting Stain in that big arc. It was because it was to show that you shouldn't always rely on your quirk to win everything. Sometimes it comes down to both things. It comes down to your quirk and your physical capabilities, and then also your mind. And that's what Stain was lacking. In this fight, it's clear as day that Stain was very skilled, but he was lacking in a lot of different areas compared to how he was in the present timeline. Stain was someone that was able to fight off someone like Todoroki, Izuku, and then also fight off Ida, and he was fighting them, and he was trying not to kill two of them. And he was still dominating them like it really wasn't much at all, which proved how strong Stain was, or how far he came since the point where we're at in the spin-off. So, we know he's trained a lot. And that is definitely throwing some more stuff to Stain's character, letting us know he put so much time and effort to be where he's at when he finally became the hero killer Stain. But then, to go one step further though, we also know that the man, he still was very good as a fighter in the spinoff. We saw the man fight off like the Avengers, basically, like it was nothing, like these mock Avengers, beat the shit out of him, killed him, and then, you know, he was fighting Knuckleduster, which he did overpower Knuckleduster. If you do take a look at that fight, Stain did win. In a way, he won. Let me explain before you start saying, like, what the hell are you talking about, Chibi? Well, obviously, Knuckleduster, when he popped up, Stain, he wasn't injured or anything. He was using his standard weapons and stuff, about to go in and try to go after Knuckleduster and cut him. Well, Knuckleduster comes in, he's starting to talk, saying, like, you know, we won't see eye to eye and all that, even though they're both technically vigilantes in a way, but you have to where Stain's more on the side of Punisher vigilante side than, you know, what Knuckleduster is. Knuckleduster is someone that doesn't kill people. And so, when you have something like this, Knuckleduster's like, I can't agree with you, with your methods and stuff, what you're trying to do, and then basically he's like, I know why you're upset or whatever, and why you're trying to talk. You're trying to judge, you know, your reach or range for me, and also you're upset because you couldn't get the surprise attack on me. And he was just talking about the range and all that, of how far Stain can attack him and initiate, and also a counter that Knuckleduster can do if Stain is out of position. For instance, if Stain was right next to Knuckleduster, Knuckleduster would be able to dodge his move and counter and hit him up in, you know, the gut, or if he was too far, Stain wouldn't be able to hit him in time, and Knuckleduster would be able to just counter him right then and there. And so Stain was judging his, you know, I guess area, his position from Knuckleduster, and Knuckleduster was very aware of this. So it shows that both of these fighters were very skilled with hand-to-hand combat and also just using their raw strength. Now we know Knuckleduster, he's quirkless. He is not someone that has a quirk, and he is someone that has to rely on his raw strength. So he is someone that has had to put a lot of time and effort into this. We know he has trained a lot to be where he's at, to fight like he does. He is definitely not someone necessarily weak. But the same can be said for Stain as a character. He is not weak. He is not a pushover. He is someone that is used to fighting people that use quirks against him, and he's used to fighting people that have the advantage all the time in almost every single fight. So because of that, the fight was roughly even in terms of experience. However, what happened was, Stain lacked tactics, or in a way, he trusted heroes too much. I guess that's how you could kind of view that. Because when Knuckleduster said he wouldn't, you know, cross this line or whatever, he didn't say he wouldn't cross it, but he put this line down. Everybody was probably under the impression that, you know, he wouldn't cross it, and if Stain crossed it, he would attack Stain. And that was the impression many would get after reading that part of the chapter, and Stain even thought that as well. So Stain, he initiated going up against, you know, Knuckleduster, crossing the line, and basically he got his ass beat. But here's the thing though, he didn't actually cross the line. Knuckleduster went over the line and then hit Stain, which once again points out the lack of resolve that Stain had in his viewpoint on heroes. For instance, he believed heroes too easily. He believed Knuckleduster, thinking that he was going to do so-and-so and then not do this. And so he was like, oh shit, like, I can't believe he fooled me like that. So it was Stain's error that costed him that quick punch to the face. And that is why he chopped off his nose. It was to remind him, it was a symbol to remind him of his fuck up and not to always trust what people say. For instance, what even heroes say. Because sometimes they will say certain things they need to say to get them out of a situation. That's kind of what that was in that given moment. What Knuckleduster or what Stain was learning from that. Now, another thing, too, though, is that once that little exchange and Stain was punched in the face, Stain did counter Knuckleduster and, well, actually paralyzed him. He used his quirk, paralyzed him, Knuckleduster wasn't able to move at all, which shows that Stain did have a lot of power and advantage. The big thing that happened there is that Stain, he got, I guess, countered too hard. The man just didn't think that Knuckleduster would pull something like that, which in turn caused him to take the hit. So, it seems like overall the fight was roughly even, but Knuckleduster is definitely someone very strong and capable, because we've even seen him fight Aizawa, so he is definitely not someone that is a pushover too. So that's about it. That's about it when it comes to this chapter. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.